今日何曜日やつ水曜日 Today's July 24th. I don't have the plaque, but 2024. Here in Pacifica, California, I figure I do more of these shorts over here. What I did do last. I'm in the garage again, and I guess I'm just documenting these little baby boys and girls over here. Um, I think I think what I'm going to start doing is like for the member thing. I will start putting up like just members, just like intimate style where I basically just drink and like do some shorts of stuff that I have randomly. I don't know, because I figure just like, oh, by the way, the best beer of the day goes out to Fire Harpson, Domariato. As well as Foxake, Lindsay's Tanks, and Nino Franklin, Rocky's Garage, and Ann H. Sun. Oh boy. I just got back. Oh boy. It's a Wednesday. I just got back from the bar. But I figure I will try to, or I should try to document some of this stuff. I slept on this. What I do usually is I put my iPhone on this device that has this microphone, the Rode microphone, and I put this filter. What is the filter? It's basically this lens that you put that that reduces the reflection from the water. So right now you see the reflection from the back foam on the water, right? So if I put a lens on, you won't see that reflection. It reduces the reflection, all that stuff. But that's like the kind of thing that I kind of geek out on while I do. See, if you look over here, you see all the reflection. If I had the lens, you would not see that reflection. You would just see the water, and you would see some of the fry over here. So, oh boy, that was a good one. Don't worry, I don't fire harp, son. I guess what I'm going to do is, so these boys and girls, let me see. The eggs from the 19th, that's the 30th, 24th, 3 weeks old, indoors in the garage. Just this kind of water. The first month, I don't do any water changes. What I do is, as it evaporates, I add water. So the water over here, I think I did this last time, but it's just water, tap water with dechlorination, and I just let it sit for a day, and I just pour it in. The reason being, I don't want to change the water over here, even though I'm sure the water quality is not the best. But for some reason, every single time I do a water change on a premature, tiny little babies of Medakas over here, I see a lot of them falling. And so, based on my experience, I'm like, all right, so for the first week, I'm just going to add water. So, water evaporates, right? So, the water line was probably up here about a week ago, and it reduced. Even though it is in a garage, the garage gets pretty, I don't know, Pacifica, California doesn't get hot. But the garage, I'm sure it's in the high 70s, so the water evaporates. So what I do is I just add water. After they become about a month old, I will feel comfortable to remove the water and add water. What is that? It's basically a water change, right? So this is the best thing you could get. My buddy over here in the San Mateo area, Ginji. Ginji is a place that I've been going for 15 years. They opened about 15 years ago, and when they totally hooked me up, and I was like, man, what I need right now is I need a beer pitcher to put some water into my Medakas, and he's like, here's a bunch, and so this is what I use. It's the best thing. So what I do is is I just add water as it evaporates. I just add water, and by the way, so this is dechlorinated water that has been sitting in this climate over here in the garage, making sure that the temperature here and the temperature in these MV box. I had a lot of questions about what are these. So these are like hard. If you go to any hardware store in Japan, you'll find these. They are called the NV box. NV is in Nevada box. They come in different sizes. This is a 13 gallon. They have a 22. These are toolbox containers that a lot of Medaka enthusiasts use, because you leave these outdoors and they don't deteriorate, they don't crack. A lot of cheap ones crack, but they hold the water fine and they last for a couple of years outdoors. So that's what this is. So I picked these up while I was at my mom's place in Japan. But long story short, so what I do is I just add water for the first month. After they're about a month old, I feel more comfortable where I could start removing the original water and introducing a lot more water. Right? So yeah, the water conditions, I don't know, after a couple weeks it's not that good, but trust me, I failed so many times. When you try to change the water, making the water a lot cleaner, these little babies are just not ready for that change, right? It's almost better to keep them in the original water and let them just swim around, because they'll adapt to the slow changes. But when you change the water from what they have been accustomed to, not so good, to something that is clean and pure, they just don't they just can't take the change. So seriously, there's very little things that I seriously say that may be meaningful. Let me just take a real quick sip. Oh yeah, the metal Medaka today is oh yeah, always fire harp and Guns N' Roses and all that, but subtle changes for these little boys and girls. We are tempted when the water turns really dirty to change the water. But that changing the water really, really, really takes a toll on these little babies until they establish, and these little babies are tiny, super tiny, but they're getting bigger. You could see them move around. They're super healthy. So you start off with gradual water changes, meaning just adding water. And then once they hit the 4 to 5 to 6 week point, think about now pulling out this dirty water and introducing new water. I lost so many babies just thinking that I was doing the right thing with just clean water, just constantly trying to provide them with clean water. So again, with different lineages, it's a different story. All these new lineages, they are so friggin' fragile. But you just have to play around. And like this is a red cliff over here. Probably born 1 to 2 weeks ago. So this is one of those MV boxes. let me try to zoom in to see if they're playing around. Whenever you see playing around like little suckers, you know that they're healthy and they're having a good time. So always love seeing that. It just kind of confirms that they're healthy. As long as they're moving around looking like they're hungry, it's a good sign all the time. So, right, I gotta go head back. I just added some water. This is what I do over here. This is the food that I'm using over here in the garage. I picked this up a long time ago, and what I do is I use the brush, right? It's all super powder form. And what I do is I just super little portions. Do you see the powder going in? Freaking magic style. Powder. Little. Alright. And then whatever that's left over here, I just feed to the plants over here that I have going on and all that stuff. Whatever food you have, make sure you seal tight because it will go bad. So try to get the oxygen out and you seal tight. Again, it's really hard to do with one hand, but for what I could say is like when I first started doing this all, I was like super concerned about every single little fry. And then a couple of years in, you're like, it's life. You want to give them the best, right? But based on your living conditions, your space, do you even have a space to put them outdoors? Or is this all the space that you have? You got to try to make it work. So you try to experiment with what you have. That is the most important thing. All these breeders over there in Japan, they have maximum capacity space. Don't try to mimic what they're doing if you don't have that space. But it's okay. You develop your own style. And that's the most important thing I could say to a lot of people. They're just like, well, this is what I have and I'm trying this. And work with what you have. And try to like perfect it. If you can't get all the fry that you want, it's okay, man. Who cares? Just try to figure out like what you are able to do with the space that you have, in the environment that you have, with the climate that you have, and try different methods. And try to find that method that works. And that's part of the journey that I think I think that's the reason why a lot of people like turn in, that love like aquatic life. You got to make it work. How are you going to make it work? Can you do it? Can you not do it? And at the end of the day, like, what makes you happy doing this? It's a hobby. Right? It's the happiness is the end game is, man, you have healthy, fun fish that love living in your family home, your system. So find that method. And most of my questions come like I have this, I can't do that, and I ask them like, what is your like environment? And I only have one or two of this. Well, let's try to make it work, right? And finding that the balance is key, and they should be putting a smile on our face, right? You shouldn't be stressed about all this stuff. It doesn't matter who's doing what. I'm doing this, that person is doing that. Just do your way and develop a style, right? All you Medaka heads, man, just find your style that you are most comfortable with. And if you can't have all these fry, or like, I have nothing compared to all these other breeders, but I'm not a breeder. I'm just doing what makes me happy and what's making these babies happy. And life is life. So if you think, a lot of people just collect eggs, but I'm like, why if you don't have the space? It's okay to stop collecting eggs, right? So what I do indoors is, if I don't have capacity, I just turn off the heater that I have running indoors. And by turning off the heater, they'll stop laying eggs. They'll stop the breeding process. And it's good. It'll let them rest. So you don't want to be in a situation where you have so many eggs, you just don't have the space. You have so many or so much fry, you just don't have anywhere to put them. Because that's wasting life, right? So the goal is not to get all the eggs that you could get if you don't know what you're going to do with them, or if you don't have the space. Just, it's us kind of playing God. Don't be God. Be smart enough to know, all right, let's let them rest. Turn the temperature down. Don't collect the eggs. If they have eggs and if they hatch, hey, the older ones will eat them, but that's okay. It's protein. But the goal is not to just try to get a bunch of eggs and all that where you don't even have the space. It's a balance, right? So try to figure out like when they'll lay, in what parameter, and what you can afford to keep and maintain. So I guess that is probably one of the biggest lessons that I actually had or experienced like a couple of years ago. Because what are you going to do when you have so many where you just don't have the capacity, right? You don't want to be put in that situation. So, all right, let me just take a quick sip. Domo arigato. MedakaMetal is where I can be found on Instagram, DM style. I was just like, man, maybe I just had too many brewskis, but it's like, man, there's something on my mind that I wanted to. It's not a how-to. It's just, I don't want to be a how-to channel. It's not even a channel. It's just me blabbing away. But hopefully some of the information that I blabbed made sense. But it's more about how to maintain a viable, controllable population based on your own style. And that's the most important thing. Find your own style, find your happiness, and make sure that they are happy as hell, because, hey man, they depend on you to stay alive. So, real quick sip. Domo arigato. All right, if you want to become a member of the Medaka Head, I don't even know why, but there are some people. I will try to put up some content that's really short, but like, it'll be quick style, but it may be interesting to some people or not. But all right, enough said. Domo arigato gozaimasu. Thank you for spending the time to listen to my babble. All right, we'll do it again next time. MedakaMetal style. MedakaMetal over on Instagram. Hit me up if you have any questions. Will do my best to try to answer them. If I have no experience, I will say, I just don't know. All right, so outs. どうもありがとう。本当にどうもありがとうございます。